So, what have we learned in this section on unconventional wisdom? I want to try to bring together the key takeaways that Subayal has delivered to us in this fascinating section, which we've called Unconventional Wisdom. I've summarized the main lessons in 4 single words, and I'm going to explain these in detail. The 4 words are logic, emotion, focus, and intangible benefits. And you need to start getting your mind around all 4 of these. And we're going to take them one at a time. Logic. Selling high-end products and services just makes sense. You need fewer sales to be successful and to meet your targets. Even more than this, high-end products and services are more likely to have real value and solve real problems for your prospects. Some of the advantages of selling high-end products and services are: often you end up with a more sustainable business. You need fewer sales to be successful. You definitely attract a better quality of client. And you can offer your clients higher quality products and services. When it comes to emotion, the real motivation behind any purchasing decision is always emotional. If we really want something, we will find the money for it. We use logic after the event to justify our decision. So, people buy with emotion and justify the purchase with logic. This may appear counterintuitive, but if you think about any of your own major purchases in the recent past, you will recognize this pattern. Before you can get your prospect to open up to you, you need to help them feel better about their problems and themselves. You need to help the prospect to feel safe and comfortable with you. If they feel better, they are more likely to start to explain their problems, and this will be the start of establishing a rapport and an emotional connection with them. So this brings us to focus. If you only focus on yourself and your problems, this will be negatively perceived by your prospect. If you focus on the problems of your prospect, you can help them to find ways to solve their problems. This will make them feel better, and they will feel that you understand them, and this means that they will want to close the sale with you. This is also a form of detachment. Salespeople focus on products and features and on making their sales commission. This makes them come across as needy and to present their case as a supplicant, which has a very negative impact on their prospects of closing a sale. In this, they're detached from the key issues of the desires, needs, goals, and ambitions of the person they're selling to. They need to turn their approach around by 180 degrees and focus on the prospects instead. It's really not your perception that matters. People, when they're selling, try to look through the sales lens from their own perspective, and this influences their approach, and they communicate their biases and perceptions to the prospect. Instead, they should look through the sales lens from the direction of the prospect and accept that the prospect may have a completely different understanding and perception of value. So you need diagnostic skills. You need to develop an understanding of the desires and needs of your prospects. Prospects will only want to close the sale when they're emotionally involved and feel that they are understood. This requires that you improve your diagnostic skills to enable you to develop this understanding. So never project your values on the prospect. It is likely that their motivations are totally different. This comes back to focusing on your prospect rather than focusing on yourself. And finally, you need to form a team with your prospect in order to build this trust. By focusing on their problems and helping to clarify the causes of these problems, they will start to regard you as an ally instead of a detached third party who's trying to sell them something. Intangible benefits are perhaps the least understood but most important. High-end products and services can develop a more positive market perception. This enables them to develop brand equity and generate market demand based on these perceptions of quality and desirability. You only have to think about Louis Vuitton handbags to understand this. When you compare a lady's handbag from a high street store or Louis Vuitton, they have the same functionality, but the Louis Vuitton bag generates an emotional response, and their desirability is not based on function, but on the value of their brand perception. And of course, this is a circular benefit. High-end brands have higher perceived value and therefore command a higher price. And confirmation bias, which we all suffer from, reinforces these positive beliefs and perceptions. High-end products therefore command their premium because they're based on factors, many of which are emotional, brand perception, prestige, scarcity, whereas low-end brands sell on features such as functionality and reliability. Understanding this difference is critical to being successful in high-ticket sales. Low-end products come with a corresponding negative perception of the quality of the product. If something minor goes wrong with the low-end product, we will understand this in a way that reinforces our poor opinion of the low-end product. Negative confirmation bias, if you like. So when you buy a high-end product or service, you are buying an experience, not simply the functionality. This evokes an emotional response in the buyer, and from their association with the product and service, they feel good. So this is our license to experience a life that we constantly dream of. This message is reinforced in our minds when we associate a brand we've purchased with the celebrity that has been hired to promote the product. So we all strive to achieve status and enjoy the privilege of exclusivity, and premium prices help to reinforce these feelings and generate an emotional response in us. So it's all about the intangible benefits of the exclusive product. So there's a lot to take in here. So what does it really mean? I think what we're trying to tell you to do is to set out to be unconventional in your approach to sales closing. Bear in mind that the traditional ways are the ways that everybody else does it, and you want to stand out and you want to be unique, but you want to be effective, and this is how you can do it. So with logic, just think about the logic of focusing on high-end sales, because you get 80% of the result for 20% of the effort. If you're selling bigger tickets, it makes sense that you have to sell less of them to get the same reward as you would if you were selling loads of small ticket items. Secondly, in sales, emotion, this key word, trumps logic every time. People buy on emotion, they justify with logic. You absolutely have to understand that. Thirdly, focus. Turn your prospect into an ally by focusing exclusively on them and their problems and offering solutions. And finally, intangible benefits, perhaps the most difficult to understand. Essentially, high-end products and services command high prices because of their emotional and intangible benefits, not their functionality. So make sure you sell these. So there you are. That's what I've taken from this section. I hope you found it informative. There's a huge amount of detail in here, but you need to get your mind around these core issues because it'll turn you into a much more effective salesperson.